please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you everyone for attending and watching on TV. First order of business this evening is a public hearing. So we'll turn that over to Mr. Pawee.
This hearing is called to order at 7 p.m. on this 9th day of August 2021 at the Hermann City Hall. It is conducted to consider the application filed by Larry and Ruth Bach to rezone property they own at 325 West 5th Street from R1 single-family residential to R3 multifamily residential. The city's Planning and Zoning Commission conducted a hearing regarding the application on July 22nd, 2021, and upon motion duly made, seconded, and passed, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to reject the application for rezoning from R1 to R3. This hearing is on the record and a transcript is being prepared. The applicants will have an opportunity to present their case. If they have any documents they wish us to rely on, they may submit those. If the applicants have any witnesses whom they desire to speak, this will be allowed. And if they are represented by an attorney, their attorney will be allowed to speak and make a presentation. After the applicants have submitted their position, the board will ask for testimony from others present in the room. Mayor Cox reserves the right to limit each speaker's time. At the conclusion of all testimony and comments, the board may deliberate and then vote on the issue. Whether the application is approved or denied will be carried by a vote of the majority of the board members, provided, however, that if a protest against the revision is presented to the board, signed and acknowledged by owners of 30% or more of the properties within 185 feet of this property, that no revision or amendment can be effective unless we get a favorable vote of 2/3 of the members of the board of all. In our case, it'd have to be 3 of the 4. If it went to a tie, if we had a tie and mayor voted one way or the other, that wouldn't vary. It'd have to be 3 out of 4. The following exhibits have been presented by the city's zoning office. We have the affidavit of publication from the Hermann Advertiser Courier. That's Exhibit 1. Exhibit 2 is the notice of public hearing. Exhibit 3 is the application filed with the City of Hermann Planning and Zoning Commission. Exhibit 4 is the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes. And Exhibit 5 Exhibit 5 is a City of Hermann zoning map, and Exhibit 6 is a Gascony County online GIS aerial photo, and then also a Google Earth photo of the property. We will go ahead and mark that as Exhibit 6. And Exhibit 7 will be the entire Code of Ordinances of the City of Hermann, Missouri. Mayor Cox, do you agree to allow all of these exhibits into the record?
Yes, sir.
So if our applicants are here, they may go ahead and say what you like.
Good evening, Mayor, council people. I have a couple items I'd like to pass out, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Please. Yes. I don't have quite enough here. I might say that when I was here with planning and zoning, I did not have this. I had it in hand. I thought that planning and zoning had it or knew about it, and no one seemed to know of this document. And what it is permits, but let me go from there. We purchased the property because our son lost his apartment due to the property was bought for a bed and breakfast, so we tried to help him out, and that's why we're doing this. And the piece of property was affordable at the time, and part of it was that we thought that we could rezone it and recoup some of our money because there was 2 buildings on the property. And one of them is, we call the cottage, 640 square feet, and then the studio, 440 square feet. And, you know, if we could get rezoning to look at this and we could have the rental of the garage part, both garage and the studio is what we're talking about. And we're just requesting to rezone so we could have additional income. And presently, tomorrow morning, I've got a couple trees that are going to come down so we can put a new roof on the property, on that particular building. My understanding, you know, with the neighbors changing from R1 to R3, we're not going to open a bed and breakfast. We're just looking for a long-term rental place. That's all we're looking for. And the properties on the opposite side of the street are zoned R3, which is immediately across. The house immediately to the west of the property that we own is a rental property, a single dwelling rental property. 120 feet catty-cornered from our property is a 2-story multi-complex apartment complex. So we're not asking for anything other than to have this particular property zoned for long-term rental. The other thing was, if you look at the items that I gave you, on the first permit was date filed 2/3/15, date issued 2/3/16, and if you note on the document, it says garage. On the next permit, on 8/16/16, if you note on it, it says single-family dwelling. And that's what that is. And all we're asking is what the city has approved to go ahead and have it as a single rental unit. Anyone, you know, we can't do a bed and breakfast because anything that, if we tried to do anything different, it would have to come through here. We're not trying to do anything illegal. I came to the city a couple times before we purchased it and talked to Ms. Heaney about what was the correct thing to do, and we're trying to do it the best we can. If you look at the other documents that I gave you, on the inspector report for 3/30/16, footings, subgrade, it gives the information there about that. And if you look above that, it says today's inspection, there's nothing there that says it did not pass. Everything was fine, and there's a signed document at the bottom. But if you go ahead and look over on the inspector's report on 4/15/16, under comments, it says foundation floors, dry front and side, setback, plumbing and AC under floor. Now, for somebody that didn't know that this was not going to be something livable, somebody should have caught that as far as the city's concerned. You know, all we're trying to do is follow up on this. We're not trying to do anything different. And if you look back on the other pictures, it shows a 2-story building.
You say on the second application it says, they both say garage. I don't see where it says.
Upper right corner,
Upper right corner.
underneath permit.
Okay, thank you. Garage, okay.
And the other one says single family.
Okay, I see that.
And basically, the other elevations, the other information where it shows the size of the building, it pretty well is set to a quarter equals a foot, quarter inch equals a foot. You know, it has the windows in there. It's kind of self-explanatory that it looks like it's a livable place.
discussion, any questions?
Well, they both say construction of garage, but the price jumped from 8,000 to 30,000.
I'm sorry, you said again.
On the one dated 8/16/16, the price construction value jumped up, it went to $30,000, and on the first one it says 8. They both say construction of garage 18 by 16.
But also up in the right-hand corner of that one document, it
Yes.
says,
It says single family.
The first application was for the foundation, the second one was for the construction. And
Construction of foundation, construction of garage, okay, I see.
it appears to be a clerical error because it would be completely incongruent. Down here under construction description, it says construction of a garage, and then the box checks a single family. So that is some sort of clerical error on somebody's part.
You have any questions? Gentlemen, do you have any questions? Dave, do you have anything to add that you?
No, I don't. Mr. Bach, I presume if you would like the board to consider this, would you like to go ahead and mark this package applicant's Exhibit A?
yes.
I have a question, did the realtor say anything when you were talking about all this?
Well, that's one of the things that I came to the city and addressed, that initially, my understanding that the property, people that had the property before, was running an Airbnb there, and illegally, according to the city ordinances. And the particular realtor that had it was advertising as that. And I questioned it after I looked at it the first time and came up here and talked to Mrs. Haney about it. And then when I really got serious the second time, I came back and we talked about it, and I told her that the realtor is still advertising it online as such, that she needs to change it or ask if the city would not do that. And I don't know, I kind of got an indication that maybe she did call or someone did call.
Yes, as well as a letter that I wrote to Elaine Arter of Arter Properties.
And I had asked the realtor not to do that, but she changed her online description a little bit and kind of turned it into a rental unit. I don't know how it exactly was worded anymore, but I had addressed it here at the City Hall saying that we are interested in buying it. We're trying to do it right. Don't let somebody else come in and buy it from us, and they go ahead and run a bed and breakfast out of it.
I think part of the problem is maybe not with what you want to do, but down the road when you sell the property, if it's, what are they gonna do? You know, this is the problem we have with a lot of different venues in town, you know, it's, oh, I wanna do this, I'm gonna, whatever it may be, and then something happens where they have to sell it in a couple of years, and then somebody comes in and opens up a tattoo parlor, whatever. Anyway, so that's one of the concerns that I have, you know. I know you, and I know that you're straight arrow. It's just, I don't know about everybody else.
I agree, and like he said, there have been people that said, oh, I'm gonna make apartments or duplexes, and then they turn them into guest houses.
But do you not have that right to stop it as council members?
Well,
Or planning and
unfortunately,
zoning?
people don't follow our laws all the time. We have some problems with that, Larry. This was already operated as an illegal guest house, and it got stopped. But, I mean, it started out as a garage. Next thing you know, it's a residence, a rental property. Next thing you know, it's a guest house. And once it gets started, it's pretty hard to stop. You and Ruth are good people. I mean, I've known you all a long time. If you say you're not going to put a guest house there, I believe you. But none of us are eternal. Once that zoning's changed, then we have well, now it's legal if we give a permit for it. It's rough.
But anything across the street, those people that live immediately across the street can do anything that y'all just talked about, which is only.
With a permit.
Which is only 30 feet across from this property.
You mean the
length of
apartment
the street.
buildings?
No, what's the street across, immediately on the other side of the street is zoned R3, which is what I'm trying to do here, just on this piece of property. I'm not trying to change the block just for this piece of property, but, you know, you've got those people who live immediately across the street and do anything with their property they want to, which does not change what maybe the people on the same side we're on, you know, have the same problem.
The zoning on that street wasn't changed. That's the zoning it became when zoning started. To the best of my knowledge, there's been no zoning changes on that street since zoning was enacted in this town.
So that happened before.
Yeah, it was made that way because that's what the property was being used for, where you're up there was basically bare property. It was left as R1.
Do you have anything?
Are you looking at me?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I was just thinking about that. Part of the P&Z's, part of their decision-making, I believe, was because R3 is across the street from his property, but behind him is all R1. And they were concerned about that. They didn't want a bunch of R3, like apartment buildings or something built there. But directly behind it is R1. So they were looking at if you look at the zoning map as a whole, you know, you'll see R3's across the street, but R1's right behind.
With that said, I do believe we have other people that might want to speak that live close to that.
Anita, Susie,
Please state your name when you get up there for the recording.
Anita Watson. I live at 317 West Fifth Street. I've lived there for 43 years. And I want the property next door to stay as R1 residential. I do not want it to go to R3. If it doesn't stop now, it'll just keep changing hands as time goes. I don't want a guest house next door to me, and it needs to stop. So can I pass these out?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want a copy?
If you have extras, Anita, myself and the city clerk will take a copy too.
Here you go. So I went to my neighborhood and talked with the people that got a letter, some that didn't, and that's how this petition came about. They were not all able to come tonight to represent themselves.
Right.
I have nothing against the Bucks, they're very nice people. It's just that started out as a garage, and then somebody slipped in and put the upstairs on it. And where I live, I put up with this crap when she put in the garage. Took her quite some time to do it, and in the process of doing it, there was always construction going on. She always left a mess on the right-of-way. We were not very good neighbors to each other, just bottom line. She had one way or no way, and it was her way. So I am asking that it stay R1 residential.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Susie Shabaum, and I live at 316 West Fifth Street, and I would like to stay at residential. I don't want to be commercial.
Susie, I just spell your last name.
SCHEBAUM.
Suzanne.
Anyone else want to make any comments?
As an alderman, I tagged along with what the mayor and Alderman Ferber said, that due to the support of the local residents and voters, and I know Ruth and Larry Buck are good people, but we are trying to retain our R1 status for single-family dwelling. Some of the documentation we have here, it's good. I think that once we would go against what plan and zoning says, then that opens the door up for 5 years, 10 years from now, if the property is sold, that gives them the first step to make it a guest house. So I think it should stay as an R1.
Well, this is bad because I don't think there's a bad person in this room. I think they're all good people. But unfortunately, these are the people that we work for, and they want it to stay the way it is, and I can't go against them.
Okay.
I agree. I had an experience a month ago with a young couple that were going to come to Hermann to buy a house for a guest house. And their realtor did not say they couldn't do it, but it's in an R1. There was no way. So realtors are just doing what they can to sell stuff, and it's not fair to the consumer.
It is true. Okay, so we need that in a motion to deny.
Move to deny.
Motion's been made to deny. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made to second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Your motion has been denied. Sorry. Okay, we move on to the mayor's report. Very short. I was very privileged to welcome the Consul General of Germany, Wolfgang Messinger, for a tour of the Stonehill Winery and dinner. It was a very pleasant evening, and it was very good for the city of Hermann to have this contact for the future. It was just, it was really nice. Okay, I want to congratulate the Fancy Pheasant and the Piano Bar, which are now officially open for business. And if you notice coming out here this evening, MoDOT has started work on Highway 119. So please be alert and drive with caution. A reminder, this Saturday, August 14th, is the last day for the pool. The lifeguards have to go back to school. And also this weekend is the Blue Oval Car Show, another great event for Hermann. And of course, the weather's super hot. Please check on your neighbors with the conditions that they are. Make sure everybody is okay. City Administrator report.
Yes, you may not have had an opportunity to check your email really late this afternoon. We just got the numbers for sales tax. You usually mention that, so I can do that for you. It's another fantastic sales tax deposit. $62,414 compared to last year for the same month was $46,621. So that's 3 months in a row that we've been over $60,000. So that's really great. Yeah, MoDOT, obviously everybody sees that going on. Tonight they are planning on starting the evening road closures, either at 7 or 8 o'clock, depending on which end they start on. I've been bringing up occasionally over the last few months the American Rescue Plan funds. The counties and the large cities had already received their money, but the cities under $50,000 in population were next in line and just received the application last week. I will get that completed. That'll secure our portion of the funding, and we could receive that first distribution of $215,000 as early as September. The airport hangars that were being resited due to flooding, that is absolutely completed by Groverville Construction. I just received the final invoice on Friday, and as a reminder, that's being paid entirely with FEMA flood reimbursement funds. And our annual tax rates, I've been waiting to get those in the mail and received them today. I haven't gotten a whole lot of a chance to crunch all the numbers and everything, but they're actually slightly rolling back our tax ceiling from .3625 to .3530. We will have to do a public hearing at our next meeting, I believe, to approve those. And I'll get you all the stats on that. Corey and I have been conducting interviews for the open position of purchasing agent, and we will have a recommendation for you at your next board meeting. And attended some meetings last week. Tammy Bergerhoff and I attended HRED, and Thursday I'll be going to the chamber meeting. Was planning on attending MRPC by Zoom this week, but might have a conflict now. But I will report back to you on this.
Okay, thank you. Jesse here?
In the corner.
Okay, Public Works.
Full house in here tonight. I figured Tricia made you sit over there in the corner.
That could be too. The street department they're getting on the sidewalk marking and the curbing marking and all that stuff for schools, getting ready to start. They've been trying to patch some potholes and some asphalt that's moving where the water department's been, you probably know right what I'm talking about. Where the asphalt's moving, they're doing the best they can with it. I'm hoping once the water department gets over there and cuts over the surfaces in that neck of the woods, we can do something a little more permanent and get that kind of fixed up. The water department's finishing up on Market Street right now. They're still having problems getting the old main shut off. There are either no valves or valves that are hidden and not on the map, so they're doing their best to track it down. But they've still not been able to shut that water line down.
Did you stand away?
Yeah, it's been a problem. I think they've got most of the service lines done. They were working on the last one today, I believe. And hopefully that Market Street deal's wrapping up pretty quick. The electric department, we've been working on getting some conversion work done out on the industrial park end, working our way back into downtown. That's been going pretty smooth. So far, all the customers have been really easy to work with on shorter outages. We're trying to do it in small sections to limit the amount of outage we have to have. Gas department's been working on some follow-ups with the PSC and doing some corrosion stuff and working on meter changeouts to AMO.
Very good.
Any damage from the storm that we threw yesterday?
Not that I know of.
We had outages on both sides of us. We didn't.
Yeah.
First thing that came to mind was the 69 line poles up there.
Yeah, that's in the works too. I had a couple meetings recently with Mike Bax from Central and the engineering firm that we've got working on doing transfers. They've got title work in progress now on that, so hopefully we'll get that rolling pretty quick too and get the easements signed over and that'll do that.
Very good. Anybody else have any questions?
All right.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, we will move on to public comments. Nancy?
Do we need to track time for you?
Yeah.
Is it 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Nancy Satray, I live at 109 East 3rd. At this point, I have lost all trust in the city, the mayor, and several of the board of aldermen. For several years now, citizens have complained about the commercial activities taking place on our residentially zoned block. First, we were told all we needed to do was call the police. The only thing that came out of that was to have the Chamber of Commerce use the Sunshine Law to obtain our names and our phone numbers and try to intimidate us by putting them out on the internet. So several refused to give their names and others just didn't call anymore. Then we were told by the mayor and the board of aldermen that just calling was not enough. We needed to file a written complaint. It was a long time before anyone felt brave enough to do so. And I really think the mayor and the board of aldermen thought it would never happen, so they felt safe saying the same old thing. We need you to file a written complaint. And so several of us did. Now we're hearing through a grapevine that prosecuting attorney is compressing the first 6 complaints into one and then not continuing with it. I did not realize that the prosecuting attorney was a judge and jury on top of being a prosecuting attorney. I also wonder why he's in the same office as the city lawyer. There's several of us that kind of wonder that. This seems to be a conflict of interest. Maybe one or both of them needs to go. And what about letting those filed those who filed the complaints know that they are not being taken seriously. Do we just get a vibe that the whole thing has been dropped? I was told that I had to appear in court September 1st to face my accuser. So, or for my accuser, yeah, for me, you got it. And he had a right to face his accuser. So I guess I'm just chopped liver since I have not been officially notified. I do not have to appear because it's all been tossed. According to the City Code, Section 215-670, peace disturbance, loud noise is included. I really think that if I can hear the music several buildings down the street inside my home with all the doors and windows closed and the AC on, it's too loud. And while the city and legal team made a worthless agreement with Grant Wilkins, allowing him to play music on the south side of his main building, it does not state he can or cannot have speakers. This is a point that needs to be rectified in residential zones. And having a policeman drive by on the street is not the same sound that comes across the yards into our homes. 15 people signed a letter that you received. And nothing has been done. I guess we're just not important, or we don't have enough money to throw around. We're now being told the police, mayor, and board of aldermen are going to get on the same page. Well, it doesn't look to me like you're even in the same book, let alone the same library. And it's disgraceful. That's all I've got to say about it.
Thank you.
And I do have copies if you want to pass them down. I got 5 of them there.
Mr. Hermann?
I want to thank the mayor and alderman for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I haven't been up here to talk about anything pertaining to the city except to Muskrat since I left office. When I came to help the city about 8 years ago, we were told you need to call and give your name to file a complaint and it would be looked into. Now we're told you needed to call, leave your name, and an officer would be sent and dispatched so you would take your statement and you could sign it, and then an official complaint would be lodged and a ticket issued, and the defendant have to report to court, and you would come there to testify. That happened about 3 weeks ago. 6 people complied, different people, and only 1 ticket was issued. There should have been 6 tickets issued. The reason for that is the judge needs to know there's 6 people offended, not just 1. So that didn't happen either. Now I understand the 1 ticket that was issued is going to be dismissed, and I think that's terrible. That happened about 3 weeks ago. A letter was sent, a petition signed by 15 people that enumerated the problems we had, and they gave the ordinance numbers and so forth, and said what the people would consider is rectifying that issue. I don't know where that stands. Nobody that I know of has been asked to comment on it, has been talked to, has been interviewed. It's just been, well, we don't know what. Friday night, 4 more people apparently called in, and an officer was dispatched. My wife was one of them. She called. We can hear this music in our bedroom. When we're trying to sleep, you can hear the music upstairs in our bedroom with the air conditioning on. So when you go over to listen to it, remember, he has video cameras or surveillance cameras and a police scanner. And there's a very good possibility he knows you're coming, so he turns it down. Anyway, I was privy to this conversation. The dispatcher was very nice and said, there's an officer on the scene and we'll have him come by, he'll call you. And my wife said, well, I just need him to come by. So he can fill out a form, or I'll fill it out and sign it, and he can go with that. And she said, he'll call you. So he did call. And he said, I'm not allowed to take complaints anymore. You can't fill one out, I can't take it. You can't sign it. And my wife questioned him and said, are you saying that, is this just for this person, or what if I complain about somebody 2 blocks over, or some other complaint? Could you take that? And he thought about it for quite a while, and he said, yes. Then she said, I'm almost finished. Then she said, Well, are you trying to say that if you can complain about anybody in Herman, but this particular person that's across the alley from us, Captain Walton and Brad Wilkins, he thought about that for a while. And he finally said, yes, that's right. Now, this is an honest officer. He thought about it, and he told the truth. I'd much rather have somebody like that than somebody that's going to lie because it's convenient and tell us what we want to hear. So this person needs to be exemplified, and we need to have some results. We need to know what's going on, and please tell us. Thank you.
Mrs. Gerber?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Sharon Kerber. I live at 124 East 2nd Street. And I am reading the witness statement that the police officer was not allowed to accept. So that's what I'm reading. The date of the complaint was Friday, August the 6th, 2021. The date of submission, I will be handing this out, is now Monday, August 9th, 2001. This official complaint document is being hand-delivered by me because Officer Stratman, badge number 501, stated that officers had been instructed by the city, being mayor and alderman, board of aldermen, and or the police chief, that no signed complaints were being accepted regarding the Captain Walt Inn. On the above date, I contacted the Hermann Police Department at approximately 9 p.m. regarding inappropriately loud music emanating from the Captain Walt Inn. The music had been getting louder since it had started earlier that evening. Being that our home, as well as the Captain Walt Inn, is located in a residential zone, the level of the music is incompatible with said zone and destroys the peace and enjoyment of our residential neighborhood, both outdoors and inside our home. When speaking with Officer Stratman, I asked him if I would have an official complaint regarding someone other than the Captain Walt Inn, would he then be able to accept my signed complaint? And he said yes. He did go on to say that my complaint would be logged in, whatever that means. So I was quite shocked for him to say that. When my kids were young, I taught them that the right thing to do is usually the difficult thing to do. And I would like to share from the good book, Proverbs 15, verse 3. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. So I implore you, Mr. Mayor, Board of Aldermen, Chief of Police, if you're out there, please do the right thing. Do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. About the only thing that, I'm going to make a short comment. I probably shouldn't say anything. But I think, and Mr. Kerber should know more than any of us, that everything takes time to get things done. There are things being done. It's just not in the public eye. And I'll just leave it at that.
I have one question. Did anybody sitting up here give the police instructions not to take reports?
No.
The comment I have not, and I would not, because that would be illegal. If a citizen has a complaint and wants to sign it, that's it.
Well, I want to make it very clear, that did not happen.
Well, I'd like to make it clear, Dave, that the officer said it did happen, and he had been instructed not to allow us to do any kind of... And
I can't help what you were told, but nobody sitting up here, I do not believe that for 1 second, instructed the police not to take those reports.
My suggestion is you find out who did say that. That's what you should do.
Okay. We will look into it. That's about Thank you for your input. Okay, we'll move on to old business.
I have something I have, old business. I guess it's new for the board, but I brought this up previously, and I had a couple citizens, voters approach me today, is the lights in the city park on the basketball courts. They burn, I know at least, because I see it out my kitchen window, they have been on 3 and 4 days in a row, day and night. I have talked to the previous administrator, city administrator. I've talked to Ben, the park department. I've talked to Mark Brazillo, the park board president, offered opportunities. I've talked to the chief. I said, can we put it on a pay-as-you-play like we did the tennis courts? And I got reasons why we couldn't do it. But the citizens, the voters, contacted me today and the day before that those lights are on for 3 days at a time, and I witnessed that.
On during the day?
Daylight. They come on Friday night, they're on all day, not every weekend, but they're on all day Saturday, Saturday night, all day Sunday, and Sunday night.
Are those lights, I wonder, can anybody turn them on?
Yep.
Man, the nose is right there.
I can hear about half of this, but I heard the lights.
The lights
stepped
around the
in.
basketball.
Court lights.
They come on and stay on.
But it,
But if they're coming on, somebody's turning them on,
Yeah.
those are on a breaker. We've talked about putting them on like a coin machine, like what we've got at the tennis court. The problem is with that being in the flood zone, we're gonna have to build a fairly massive structure with stairs and stuff to do so. Otherwise, you're gonna be replacing a couple $1,000 machines every time that happens.
Can you just put them on a photo cell so they can't come on and do it?
They can probably be put on a photo cell that's there, and those are, I mean, they're reasonably cheap to replace. Definitely cheaper than a coin machine. And that way, at least if they.
That way if they're left on, at least won't be on
they're
and
on, right.
a motion sensor when you did the backboards or something that would pick
Well,
up
the
the
problem
motion
is,
of the.
as tall as those are, I don't know the motion sensor's gonna do any good.
But if we can't figure it out, I just recommend to take the power off of it. The campers may be turned them on too, because none of the lights on the east side of the swimming pool parking lot has not worked for 2 years, and I've reported that too.
Yeah, those are in the process of being replaced.
That's what I was told 2 years ago.
I think a timer would be better than a photo cell, just because there's no reason it needs to be on
Well, if
past
you
like
put
2
a
a.m.
timer on there, come rain or shine, it's still gonna flip on.
Oh, yeah, I get
Well,
what you mean.
it'll only be allowed to.
Can you put the timer on so many hours?
Yeah, the only issue we have with that is, and I mean, that's something that we've battled before, is making sure the timer gets changed.
Right.
Uh,
They did that with the
Otherwise, you
tennis
still run
courts.
into the, and, I mean, that shouldn't be as big of a deal as it is, but for whatever reason, it seems like it is. We can put another one back at that location, but,
And if you did that, then there wouldn't be a breaker that people could turn off and on.
well, there's always gonna be the breaker, we can lock it, but people cut the locks off all the time. But
Maybe we need a camera there. Don't they have cameras in the park?
They do, but I don't know where all.
Could we move the switch or put the timer up where the electrical hookups are for the campers that stay there? Evidently, they don't get underneath water.
Well, they do, it takes a bigger flood.
Well, how high is something gotta be off the ground down where that basketball court is to stay on?
About 10 feet,
Yeah.
Really?
yeah, if you wanna go by
10
93.
foot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it went over the pavilion roofs, so.
But it's just something I wanted to bring up. I've talked to everybody I can think of trying to proper protocol. And I get registered voters and people that live there. And I peek out the window every night I go to bed and say, well, the court lights are on. Get up at 6 o'clock, make a pot of coffee, the lights are still on. Nobody's playing basketball. I can see the hoops from there. Like I said, I personally, and we have left early going to church to go down there and turn the lights off ourselves. So it's a kind of waste of electricity. I know it's a benefit, but those who are using are abusing the benefits by failure to turn them off.
I believe I'd get a photo cell or a timer on it, just.
11 o'clock cutoff, but then again, when we have rainy days, 3 or 4 days in a row, the lights are still.
Well, and that was the issue why we did the tennis courts the way we did them. Because they were, you know, and of course now there's a surge in people using the tennis courts. But for years, nobody used the tennis courts at all. And you might have one person play down there a week if the lights were on. So,
Pickleballers don't play at night?
Yeah,
well, no,
they
but
do.
now it's all the time.
The lights are on quite
It's worked
often.
out really good.
I would recommend that you sit down with Ben and come up with a solution and then get back with us what you're planning on doing, or have Ben get back with us. and let
It'd be
us
like
know.
smoke alarms you check on every season.
Well, I mean, look into it and see which option is the cheapest and the best that'll solve the problem. We can talk about it all night, but, you know,
Get some,
it should be Ben's responsibility, it's part of the park. And, you know,
Another thing we might be able to do, I don't know if they make them, and part of the problem is that's a pretty large circuit. I mean, you wouldn't think that a few lights control a lot, they do. If we could find some type of timer that's like a manual, like an analog, kind of like an old stove timer, something like that.
30 minutes?
Yeah, the only problem is if you're in the middle of a game and it shuts off, I guess that'd be less than 30
Right.
minutes. It's an
Get-
option.
We know it's halftime then.
yeah, beer break.
yeah, get with him and look into it and let us know.
Okay.
Anybody else have any old business? We'll move to new business. Any new business?
I'd like us to investigate getting a decibel meter for the cops to carry. A decibel meter to
Sound
measure
decibel.
sound,
Oh,
just to remove some of the subjectiveness of some of these issues. I think there's been issues with making sure they're calibrated and all that, but at least it gives us a number to go off of rather than a written statement or a word. He said, she said.
but we have no ordinance that states a decibel level in the national neighborhood.
But a number would be nice. For
I understand where you're going. Yeah, we don't have an ordinance, and I don't think we really need one, but I understand what you're saying. That way, you know, I personally have been up and down that alley, and
But an ordinance is an option for you,
Right.
you know, to pair up with the meter.
I'd rather not throw any more ordinances out there unless we have to, is what I'm saying.
And I don't think we really need an ordinance for that to be a useful tool. I think just having a number would be
I
beneficial.
think,
Will it hold up in court?
As evidence of the unreasonableness of the level of the noise, I believe it would. And, you know, perhaps an unannounced, unrequested drive-by on Friday and Saturday nights instead of waiting for calls or waiting for dispatches that can be seen on scanners, you know, et cetera, might be a way to tackle it, but I'll leave that to chief.
I think Tricia had mentioned that she had checked with surrounding cities and they had a decimal ordinance or something.
There are cities with decibel ordinances.
Or how are they working good, or?
I don't know. And one of them is the city of Kansas City. I mean, there aren't very many, but there are some.
I have a radical idea. What if you're in a residential area, you're only allowed to have music 4 times a year, and you can't use speakers? Because who's to say this won't happen in some other area that has a guest house or
Well,
a...
amplification is the problem.
Yep. And it's something to think about.
I don't, again, we're going back, we're putting more burden on the people. I mean, I got 4 kids, so I might have 4 birthday parties in a year, and I might set up my stereo system out there. No, I'm not in agreement with that at all. Anyway, okay, I'll talk to the chief and have him look into it. I'll take care of that.
And just for the record, for the viewing audience, any inference or implication that the city is doing nothing about this situation is 100% false. As you all know, it is a daily thing.
That's why I tried to make it a short statement.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Any other new business? No other new business, we'll move to motions. I have a motion for the last meeting's minutes, please.
I move to approve the meeting.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
So carried. Invoices for payment,
Move to pay the bill.
motion's been made to pay bills, second.
Second.
Motion's made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Madden Media renewal for the Missouri Travel Guide advertising. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Special event application for the City of Hermann Tourism Department, the Big Boy train stop at War Street closure. War Street closure 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on August 30th, 2021.
I move to approve.
Motion-
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Festival application, JSL Holdings, LLC, Jordan and Stacy Lampkin Food Trucks, private parking lot, 219 East First Street, Oktoberfest weekends. This is actually the parking lot in between Save-A-Lot and
I
Burroughs.
figured it had to be. Yeah.
And in discussion, he wants to do this food truck thing, and the food trucks will not be allowed to sell anything that will, like bratwurst and that, for the nonprofits. They won't compete with the nonprofits that are set up on, like the Lions and so forth.
Are they gonna sell alcohol?
He would have, these are food trucks, there would be no alcohol.
No one has mentioned that yet, but if they did, they'd have to approve it, would have to come before you all.
Right, yeah.
That's one question I have is, I know they mentioned they try to offer to locals to have their food trucks in there, which this part would be covered, but if they bring out of town vendors in, make sure they would have to get a business license to do so.
Because it's a festival weekend.
Right.
Move to approve.
Motion made, second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Ayes have it. Okay, caterers for Herman Incorporated Othello Shakespeare Festival, the Herman Farm, August 21st, 2021.
I move to approve.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm abstaining.
And he abstains.
Do you know this old fellow, dude?
I do not.
Okay. That completes everything, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.